So just a few moments ago, SK Gaming has won their second major as a unit of 5, being only the second team in the history of CSGO to be able to secure 2 majors in a row with the same 5-man lineup, or just in general 2 majors with the same, unit of 5. And I didn't actually do the math here, but I'm pretty sure this is probably one of the first times we've seen a player individually perform so well across 2 majors, as we did see coldzera, the clear MVP of MLG Columbus, and in fact won the official MVP award, had a ridiculous event there, I think like a 1.36 rating and plus 80 something kills, and now he does it again here at ESO1 Cologne 2016, as he had, I believe, plus 89 KD ratio with, again, a 1.36 rating. So that is just insanity when you think about him being able to carry that type of form across 2 majors. So what an accomplishment for these guys over at SK Gaming. The Brazilians have done it once more, again firmly establishing themselves as the best team in the world, and coldzera establishing himself as the best player in the world. So this is cool stuff, and I just want to make a quick video to kind of talk about this event and talk about what makes SK Gaming so great. How are they able to do this is kind of going to be my approach to this video. And so when you look at the actual results, they were in the group of death over in Group D, where they had G2, FaZe, and Fnatic. So, 3 of the best teams in the world, and FaZe certainly no slouch, all pitted inside the same group. And of course, it was even more interesting because we've seen G2 and the guys over at SK Gaming, back when they were still Luminosity, kind of trade finals against one another, where we actually saw in their most recent bout against one another before the major that G2 was actually able to best them and be able to take a title off of them. But then not so long before that, it was the Brazilians who were able to beat G2 for a first place finish. So definitely kind of a rivalry there between the French team G2 and the group of Brazilians. But opening up the group stage of this event, we did see that the Brazilians were able to conquer G2, 16-11 win on Cobblestone. And then they went on to play FaZe in the winners final after FaZe kind of upset Fnatic, and we saw them just absolutely destroy FaZe, a 16-6 victory to take the first seed out of the group and be able to make it to the quarterfinals a little bit earlier than some of the others, I suppose. And in their opening game, they actually got to play against Flipside Tactics, because remember, Flipside had this crazy upset over NIP, so it should have been NIP there, I guess, in pretty much everyone's eyes. So maybe the Brazilians got a little bit gifted here with an easy quarterfinals matchup, or a little bit easier than what we expected at least. But I mean, Flipside did give them a little bit of trouble. There was a pretty close game and an overtime game that the Brazilians had to win to get past Flipside, but they also just crushed them on Mirage 16-7, so a very close game there. Then they had to play against the Poles over at Virtus Pro in the semifinals, which was a 2-1 series. So again, kind of another close series, very reminiscent of the quarterfinals of MLG Columbus, where VP was one of the teams that posed the biggest threat to their title run, and it happens here again, as this was probably this was the closest series that the Brazilians played, and it was a overtime loss actually on Cobblestone to open the series. But then there was this crazy pick from Virtus Pro on Nuke, which caught everyone off guard, and we saw the guys over at SK Gaming be able to take that in a big way, 16-5 victory, and then they closed out the series taking Mirage, which of course was a very powerful map for Virtus Pro, but also one of the best maps for the players over there at SK Gaming. They take that one 16-12, and then of course we just had the grand finals today, where they absolutely destroyed Team Liquid, and Liquid looked absolutely hot throughout the entire tournament, upsetting Fnatic yesterday in the semifinals to make it to the grand finals, being the first North American team to ever progress that far in a major. And Hiko as a player, and some of the other guys, Nitro, Elige, and Simple also being, I guess Simple's not North American, he's from the Ukraine, but it's the first time we've seen North Americans be able to make it to the semis more than once. So there's definitely a lot of history made from the Team Liquid side, and they have a lot to be proud of. But the Brazilians had absolutely no trouble crushing them on Train and Cobble to take the title once more for themselves, and once again be major champions, and like I said, establish themselves as still the best team in the world, with coldzera now, firmly the best player in the world, in my opinion. I think most people would agree with that. So how are they able to do this? And with that, how are they able to just be this type of team? How are they the best team in the world? What have they done to get here? So I kind of want to talk through that a little bit, rather than going into the specifics of every single map that they played at Cologne. So first of all, individually, they just have a bunch of sick players. I mean, the individual form of these players throughout this major, and I guess mostly just in general, has been absolutely astounding. So again, look at coldzera, plus 89 and a 1.36 rating. at this major at ESO on Cologne. And again, he did have plus 80 something kills at MLG Columbus in a 1.36 rating. So, I mean, this guy is the clear MVP of both majors, and he's just a phenomenal player. He's only had one negative LAN event in his entire career. And granted, some of these events were events he played within Brazil, so maybe a couple of easy ones, DreamHack Austin, where he's only playing against North American competition or America's competition, because of course Tipo Storm, now Immortals, was at that event as well, which took second place there. But there's been plenty of international events that coldzera has been at. He came absolutely out of nowhere. I'm actually going to link an article in the description below that I wrote for E-League, which was coldzera, the Brazilian phenom, where it kind of goes over his history, kind of, rising out of the shadows, someone who was completely unknown, and he's just blown up into now the best player in the world. So if you want to learn a little bit more about coldzera's past in a little bit more detail, you can check that out in the link below. But just an incredibly versatile player as well. I mean, he is usually a rifler, and he can open up areas of the map. He can be quite aggressive. He can also close down rounds. He can be that clutch player for you to help put rounds away. But also, it's just the fact that he's such a powerful opper. And when you give him an op, or you run these double set op setups with coldzera and Fallen, it's just so potent. I mean, it's probably one of the most potent combos in the world when it comes to double op setups. I know the simple JDM combo was huge here at Cologne, but this particular double op setup is just so nasty. Like, most people can't really deal with it. It helps them get a lot of rounds on CT sides on maps that can sometimes be difficult to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, coldzera is just a special player. There's really no way to sum him up. I mean, he's just an incredible talent who, like I said, kind of rose from obscurity, and he's now the best player in the world, and he can just do so much for his team. And again, he had another stellar performance at this event, so of course he was one of the big reasons why they were able to win the title, and one of the big reasons why this team is so successful in general with all the titles that they've been able to win and, establish themselves as the best team in the world. Now, the second best player at this event, statistically for SK Gaming, was actually Taco. And I know this guy catches a lot of flack. I've never really gone in on him too hard. Yes, he has had some events where he hasn't individually performed very well with statistics, but he always does his job, and he can have big rounds. Being the entry fragger for the team, but also playing a lot of peripheral roles on default setups. But this event, he, just played out of his mind. This is the best international event of his career, so obviously that helps SK Gaming out a lot to win this title when you can have a player like Taco having the best international showing of his life. Basically, he went plus 45 with a 1.19 rating, so really, really well done. This is the first positive event he's had since DreamHack Austin, first international event where he's gone positive since IM Katowice, which is, of course, the other big event that people really, looked at Taco and thought he was a great player, was this IM Katowice event where he did so well, and he's able to, even better that performance at this event. So really, really well done from Taco. Just great play from him all event. Then you have Fallen, who is, of course, regarded the best in-game leader in the world, which certainly helps, with the leadership and the strategy, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But also, he's one of the best oppers in the world, and he just so great with his movement. He seems to always have the ability to get multiple frags in situations where you feel like he should only be able to get one. So he's just really fast, and he just has great movement, just good reads on the game. He's very mobile on both sides of the map. And so he can be very hard to deal with because you're not quite sure where you're going to have to meet up with the mat. And he just has great accuracy. And he ends this event plus 35 with a 1.12 rating. So, again, another great event for Fallen, a guy who just does it all. He leads. He can have a huge impact with the op. He's just a great player, and again, one of the big reasons why this team's so successful is because of a guy like him. He's probably the most important player on the team just because of the leadership aspect on top of the fragging ability. He's not necessarily a superstar of the team. That would be coldzera, of course, but just the amount of roles he plays within this team and how he's able to perform in all of them so well really does just carry this team forward. Then you have FNX. He ends the event plus 31 with a 1.09 rating. Not as flashy as some of the other players on the team. He's more of a passive rifler, known for his clutching ability and known for his ability to be able to kind of be able to support, maybe be like a third guy in to kind of clean up. But also great on CT sides, very good side anchor on mini bomb sites like the A-bomb side of Mirage, which of course is a big map for this team. Helps out a lot with defending drop down room on cobblestone. So he has a lot of important CT positions where he also performs quite well, and he had a great event as well. So I mean, you can kind of see here that you're putting all these pieces together. You have the versatility of Cold, the aggression of Taco, the opping of Fallen, and the passivity and support and clutching of FNX. And you have Fur, who's kind of your wild card. He's kind of the one that probably takes the most risk. He's another very aggressive guy like Taco who likes to take a lot of battles and helps open up areas of the map in big ways. He's also the guy on the CT side who can kind of make these crazy plays, these crazy pushes to add some levels of dynamics to his team on the Carolina Terrace side, and he ends this event +8 with a 1.02 rating. So everyone at this event goes positive and has a great rating, and they just fit together so well. They have all the roles firmly established. They have a little bit of a wild card nature to them as well with some of their players to kind of change things up. And just they have incredibly skilled players on this team in all their respective positions. So that's obviously one of the biggest things that helped them in this event to win, but just in general has helped them to be one of the best teams in the world. So outside of individual players and their roles and their performances, what else helps this team? Well, obviously their map pool is so deep. So obviously cash has kind of been their permanent ban. They've moved away from that, so that's obviously one of the weaknesses in the 7-map pool. Their Dust 2 has something that they've been able to reincorporate into their game, and they've had some big wins, like when they beat G2 at the ESL Season 3 finals, and they've been able to beat some of the top North American teams on Dust 2, like whenever they beat Liquid at DreamHack Austin. So they're incorporating it back into their game after they had that big 0-16 loss to Fnatic at the end of 2015. They kind of made D2 their permanent ban, but now they switched it to cash. So they brought D2 back in. And it's still not a crazy powerful map for them. I think so far they're like 50-50 on it, but they've definitely been able to grow it and put it into their game. But that hasn't even mattered so much. It's really the other 5 maps in the pool that have really helped this team out so much. So let's look at the big 3 first, and this is the ones that they've always kind of had for a very long time. Mirage, of course, goes way back whenever some of the core of this team was on Kaboom, way back at X Games Aspen 2015. But Mirage, they are 19 for 24 since they put this 5-man lineup together on LAN at the end of 2015. So it's a 79% win rate on Mirage since they put this 5 together, and they're able to beat all the best teams in the world on this map. Some of their only losses come to teams like Navi, who are known as really great Mirage teams, but they've also been able to beat Navi at times. They've beaten Virtus Pro at times. They've just been able to use Mirage to just really be like probably might be their best map. I don't know. It's kind of arguable. They have so many good maps, but they're just so fluent on this map, and so that's one map there that they have in their back pocket. Then you have Overpass, where they're 12 for 15, so 80% they put this team together. They've beat teams like Navi several times, who's a very powerful team. They've beaten teams like Astralis, who's been known as a great Overpass team. So they're getting quality wins against great teams. I mean, 80%, that's just insane. Then you go over to Train. This is their best map statistically, 17 for 19. So 89% win rate since they put this 5 together. Their only losses come in overtime to Navi a while back, and then once to G2, I believe, at the ESL Season 3 finals. But they've also beaten Navi a couple times. They've beaten Astralis. They've beaten everyone else they've come across. And then the other thing is that to look at is the fact that they've incorporated Cobblestone into their map pool now. This has become a big map for them. They're now 16 for 22 with a 73% win rate. Lots of the losses they do have mixed into this are very close losses, and they've been able to get some really big wins. I mean, they won it almost every time they played it at this major. It was a big map they used to get the title. I think their only loss was to Virtus Pro in overtime, but every other time they played it, they won it. And they're just great on both sides of the map. And I mean, just a sick win rate. And then Nuke, they have that map if they need it. They've won it all 3 times they've played it so far. Yes, it doesn't get played a lot, but the fact that they have it there, so you force teams that don't play it to ban it against you basically and work them into other maps. So they have that there. So I mean, think about it. They have 4 maps right now that are at least a 73% win rate. Actually 5, I guess, if you count Nuke, and then they only played it 3 times, so I kind of make that as an outlier. But out of the 6 maps that they play the most, or 5 maps they play the most, in 4 of those maps they have above 70% win rate. So again, this team's map pool is just incredibly deep, and they're winning these maps against quality teams on a regular basis. And so, again, their only real weaknesses are Dust 2 and Cash. And they get to ban Cash, so maybe you catch them on Dust 2 and maybe you have a chance. But when you look at almost every other map, Cobble, Mirage, Overpass, Train, that's the 4 main maps they play. They're just sick on those maps. And like I said, they do have Nuke if they need it kind of in their reserves. So just insane map pool. And then we just talk about their strategy, just the depth of their playbook, their ability to switch styles. Of course, they've always been known for being that slower, more methodical style team. I guess classically way back when they were known as like these crazy executes, but then they moved into like the more map control oriented nature, but they can still bring in the aggressive hits. That's been the biggest thing they've added. They've had this slower, more methodical style, the mid control, the map control style for quite a long time, but recently they've also added some aggressive plays to make themselves was more dynamic, harder to read. And so I'm not going to go through every single map, but I decided I would pick out 3 maps just to kind of talk about their strategy and tactics on these 3 particular maps that really just kind of illustrate just how deep their playbook really is and what they can do. Excuse me. So on Cobble, for instance, they do have that default where you see some guys have some pretty, common positions like Talk on the Long B platform, or Fur in the drop down room, or FNX usually lurking a lot towards mid or A halls. Fallen floating around with the op. Cold Zera can kind of be all over the place, usually helping out at B, but also can help get control of mid and A hall, so they can kind of spread the map and work control and then work from there. But they also, of course, can do the heavy B hits like everyone can do. They have the firepower to just plow through the B bomb site, trade their way into a bomb plant and close out rounds that way. I've also been seeing them mix in these 1-4 setups where they kind of have FNX alone while the other 4 are working control of A halls in middle or working control of B. So they've been bringing that bit back in. They've actually been a lot more B heavy recently than in the past. I feel like they used to be a lot more spread out, but now they seem to focus up B a little bit more. They also have the innovation. They were really one of the first teams I ever saw, smoke off the APC at the A bomb site to block people from A site and along A from getting vision on middle, and then use that to actually get into connector and split the B bomb site, also incorporating drop and long B platform. So just the innovation that they've had on executes on this map is there as well. And then on the CT side, it's just the retake abilities that they have because of the teamwork that they have when they work together so well. The double opping of Cold Zera and Fallen is there. I know a lot of people knock on the double op on this particular map, and there's good reason to, because it does making retake more difficult, and it's an expensive investment. But they make it work just because of the amount of kills and the amount of impact that Cold and Fallen can have when they spread the map with these ops. Cold can lock down that B bomb site, which frees up Fallen to still be able to focus on being an A rotator. But if they don't have a double op, again, Fallen's mobility, he can shift between the 2 sites and he can be all over the place, and so they just become very difficult to get past. They're one of the few teams that I've seen consistently be able to put up pretty good CT sides on this map lately. So that is one other thing to think about, that they had this great T side and they had the capability to get you on the CT side as well. So then Mirage, of course, another map that's been big for them, just to go a little bit more into the strategy of the team, give you some examples. The A executes were what they were known for way in the past. They had that big 5 smoke execute on the A bomb site that was so huge, and they still have these A executes, but now they've added this mid control style, with Cold and Fallen controlling mid and Fur working to underpass, and Taco parked outside A usually, and FNX being able to be upper B or maybe helping Taco over at the A bomb site, and again, that slow methodical control style. But then they can add these crazy mid to B up catwalk and out upper B apartments really quickly, and these fast connector hits into the A bomb site. They can up the tempo and bring these quick executes. They can be so diverse, and they have so many formations to open up rounds on Mirage. I mean, I've seen them open up where they have like 1 towards B, 2 middle, and 2A. I've seen them do like 3 middle and 2A. I've seen them do 4A and 1 middle. I've seen them incorporate window room attacks. Like, they're just so many different formations they can throw at you, and how those formations can develop into these different executes. It's just crazy the amount of stuff they have for this map, and that's map pool wide. And again, their CT sides are so strong. The double op setup of Cold and Fallen, the Fur being able to be so pushy at the A bomb site, FNX being such a sick anchor. These are just big things that help them on Mirage. And then the last example I'll give is Train, where they can have these shutdown CT sides. Again, the double op, the retake abilities that they have to work together. And then on the Terror side, again, so many formations, like triple Ivy setups, or double Ivy, 1 T-con, and then 2 working inner halls and ladder. Just being able to have these crazy formations, but also being able to make the standard stuff work, like the 3 smoke that you have on the bomb train to just attack the outer bomb site, and how you can just get Fur, Cold, and FNX out there just taking control of things, and Taco as well, just being able to swarm outer and be able to do the quick stuff. I've even seen them use these tactics where they can actually split the inner bomb site by going through the Z connector, which is something you don't see a lot, and they can use back hauls to control CT spawn. So again, they just have so much they can go to. And this is just 3 maps I've given you examples of, but that really stretches their entire map pool. I didn't really mention Overpass because they didn't play at this major, but that's just another thing. So we've talked about the form of their individual players. We've talked about how deep their map pool is. We've talked about strategy, and then just the leadership of falling outside of strategy, how he kind of corrals the troops, how he's just kind of almost father figure to them. I almost imagine, maybe that's not exactly true, but they're just all brothers. The camaraderie is there. They're such a tight-knit family, and I think that really helps them out a lot. Also, the other thing we have to mention is the work ethic and the passion of this team, how passionate they are about the game and about competing in it, the type of work ethic they have, the amount of hours that they put in, the amount of time they spend practicing, the quality of practice they have, how they focus on going over things. I mean, and Fallen's even taken time out of practice to do these informative videos with Games Academy to kind of give you a brief glimpse at how much thinking really goes into the game from this team, is particularly guys like Fallen. And I haven't even mentioned Zeus, but of course he's a big help, and even Cole, I heard, helps call for the team sometimes. So they have, you know, so many minds on this team that can really help pitch in and help develop the team further. And so these are just some of the things that makes the team great. You know, the players that they have and the performances that they can have, the map pool that they have, the strategies on these maps, the tactics they use to implement that strategy, the work ethic, the passion, the drive, and the leadership behind it all. These are just some of the things that make this team so great, but they've done it again. They've established themselves once more as the top team in the world. Some of their players are once more establishing themselves as the best players in their particular roles. And they've now made history, you know, just this non-European team who's able to win titles, win majors, only the second team to win 2 majors in a row with the same 5-man lineup. You know, coldzera probably being one of the only players in the history to have that type of performance in 2 majors in a row. So just incredible stuff. I just wanted to share a little bit about it. If you enjoyed the video, please follow and subscribe for more. Thanks so much.